Hello everyone. In this video lecture I am going to discuss the concept of data encoding and data processing technique in GIS. As you know, I already told you the backbone of GIS is the analytical capabilities. But before doing analysis, you have to make your data ready for analysis. And to doing this, to make your data ready for analysis is really time taking affair, costly affair, and also you may consider little bit of boring things to make the data ready for analysis. So this concept we will discuss here, how to prepare data, how to perform different types of data processing so that your data will be much more accurate, so that based on this accurate data, if you perform analysis, the result will be also very appropriate one. So let's start. So in the first presentation I am showing you the workflow diagram of a process of GIS. This is basically a general perception, the process of GIS, how to the workflow going on. So first step is there in any GIS project, you have to acquire data. Once you acquire data, this data you have to capture within computer. So for within computer you can capture your data either as a raster data or as a vector data. So this is the spatial data component. But for attribute data you also have to encode or enter attribute data within your computer. So once you complete the encoding or entering raster and vector data within computer, then your spatial database is ready. And parallelly, once you complete your attribute data entry within computer with the help of either GIS software or using some DBMS software or maybe using Excel software, which all of you know, Microsoft Office, one particular application. Using Excel software we can also encode attribute data. Once it was ready, then your attribute database is ready. Then finally we will join or connect both of these two databases, spatial and attribute database. So linking of spatial and attribute data. So once this linking complete, then organize data for analysis. That means now your data is ready for analysis. Now based on this data, based on this combined spatial and attribute database, we can perform different types of analysis. So as I told you earlier, this is a general perception by how you will execute a GIS project, its workflow. So first step I told you data acquisition for any GIS project. In the data acquisition phase, we have to obtain the geographical data for your GIS project from different sources. As you know, I told you in my earlier lecture the component of GIS. I told you the data sources example, a lot of existing map, satellite image, aerial photograph, or even survey data, census data, all are different types of GIS data sources. So for your GIS project you have to capture such type of geographical data from this variety of sources. Once you acquire, then you have to capture those data on the computer. In this phase, GIS operators need to capture or encode both spatial and attribute data into the GIS software. in your GIS software, using your GIS software, you can capture both spatial and attribute data. Or for capturing attribute data, you may use some additional database software or Excel like software. Now the most estimates suggest that between 75 to 80% of your project time have to spend for collecting GIS data, for entering GIS data, cleaning or doing some sort of data processing to make this data much more accurate, and for converting this GIS data from one format to another format. So before doing analysis, you just see approximately from the entire project time, you have to devote maximum time for doing this data capturing, data processing. That means, in a simple way, to make your data ready for analysis, you have to spend lot of time, maximum time of your GIS project. Remaining 20-30% time you only have to spend for doing analysis, but the most of the time you have to devote for making your data ready for analysis. Now again I am showing you here elaborately what are the different GIS data sources are there. So as per your GIS project, you have to choose any one or many more GIS data sources. So any existing map or any existing report, as you know, report generally contain attribute data, some socio-economical data. So any such type of existing map or report you can use as a data sources for your GIS project. For example, if you going to prepare if you engage in a GIS project, their ultimate goal was to prepare a municipality map. So for preparing a municipality map, you need different types of GIS data. So according to this, that you have to acquire. So any existing topographic map, cadastral map, or thematic map, example population map, cadastral map, example property boundary map, topographic map, example where you can see topo sheet, where you can see the contour lines. So those sort of existing map that you can use. Example of report in any journal or any magazine, if you found any socio-economical data that is very useful for your project, those sort of socio-economical data you can collect as a attribute data. For example, census book that you can use for storing, capturing attribute data. For preparation of municipality map, you can take the help of aerial photograph, because aerial photograph contain huge amount of spatial data, road, building, so that you can use. Aerial remote sensing is the technique of capturing images from some air platform, helicopter, aeroplane, or from some unmanned aerial vehicles, UAV vehicles like drone, from where you can capture aerial photograph. Those aerial photograph is a huge source of geographical data that you can use. The same way you can also use the satellite image. Those satellite image, from the satellite image you can prepare the land use land cover map for the municipality. From the satellite image you can prepare the change detection, how the landform change in 1 decade. Or you may search existing GIS data directly from the internet. In the nowadays in the internet, lot of different types of GIS data are freely available. Only you have to search, you have to download it. So those online GIS data is also very useful for your GIS project. So internet is a great place for searching of existing geographical data for your GIS project purpose. Or maybe alternative approach is there. If you do not found any existing GIS data, then you have to perform field survey with the help of survey instruments like theodolites, total station, electronic distance measurement tools. You can directly capture spatial and attribute data directly from the ground, directly from the field. But in this case, you have to take the help of survey instruments, something like this. Or you can use GPS or GNSS like satellite based navigation system. You can use GPS or GNSS receiver and to compute accurate locations on the earth's surface. Using your GPS receiver, you can also collect geographical data directly from ground. Even you can use your smartphone as a survey instrument. In your smartphone, you just on or enable your GPS, then using your smartphone visit different location. So all the locations geographical data, that means longitude latitude value, you can collect on your smartphone, then download this data directly from your smartphone and use on your GIS project. So that you can use. Another one is there, but definitely for using this data source, you should have the knowledge of digital photogrammetry technique. So in the digital photogrammetry technique, if you have this knowledge, then you can directly obtain spatial data from the aerial photographs. From the aerial photograph, you can measure the building height, tree height, elevation, all such type of geographical information you can capture from the aerial photograph with the help of digital photogrammetry technique. But definitely you have to be knowledgeable, you have to know this technology, then you can do this. So these are the different types of data sources are there. For your GIS project, maybe only one data source or many data sources you have to use. There is no hard and fast rule which data source only I should use for a particular project. It may vary. Okay, now first I am showing you different types of raster data encoding method. Raster data encoding method is there, and the popular raster data encoding method is there, scanning, which will convert the analog map into the digital map. With the help of scanner, this instrument, this input device, you can convert any analog or paper map into the digital map. And the digital map that you will get, this is nothing but the raster data. So scanning is a very popular way to convert paper map into the digital image. Most of you already know the scanning technique. Your passport size photo, that if you scan, you will get a raster image. So this is but in case of GIS, we use such type of large scanner which is called A0 scanner. That means where A0 size paper map is possible to scan and create a digital raster image. So such type of scanning equipment generally present in the GIS organization. They use this scanning device, A0 scanner, any existing, suppose this is an example of a thematic map that is possible to convert into raster data. So by doing this we can enter raster data within computer, because as you know you can't never enter this paper map into the computer. This is not possible. This is a analog data. So you have to convert this analog data into digital raster data. Then using pen drive or any other way you can enter this data within your hard disk store. You can easily store it. Sometimes we may convert vector data into raster data, V2R. A case to case basis, it may sometimes require to convert existing vector data into raster data. For example, in this illustration you can see this line geometry. This is a vector data line. This line geometry is converted into raster data. Vector to raster conversion sometimes we use for capturing raster data also, for encoding raster data also, along with scanning. Now once you capture raster data or once you encode raster data within your computer, once you enter raster data within your computer, then different types of raster processing we perform. Raster processing means by doing raster processing you make your raster data much more accurate. You increase the accuracy of the raster data. You make this raster data into the GIS data. So one of those such type of technique is called georeferencing. So this is a one type of raster processing technique. What is georeferencing? Georeferencing means that the internal coordinate system of a digital image can be related to a ground system of geographic coordinate system. So the internal coordinate system of an image is nothing, is the row column structure. So this row column coordinate system will be converted into the geographic coordinates of longitude and latitude. So this translation from internal coordinate system of an image, row column number coordinate system, into the longitude latitude coordinate system translation is called georeferencing. And by doing georeferencing, a georeference image has been tied to a known earth coordinate system so that user can determine where every point on the image is located on the earth's surface. Once you make your raster data georeference on the raster, every features you can identify their geographical location, you can identify their longitude and latitude value once you perform georeference. If your image or raster is not georeferenced, on the raster if you visit different location you will not get the earth coordinate value. That means you will never know the lat long values. So that is mandatory raster processing. This is a raster data that will match with the earth coordinate system, that means with the longitude and latitude, so that whenever we will place our mouse in any location on the raster, this location's longitude, latitude, earth coordinate you can easily find out. So this processing is called georeferencing. Then another one is there, grayscaling. As the name suggests you, this technique will convert the color image into grayscale. Sometimes we need to convert any color image into grayscale. For example, this topo sheet we convert from color to grayscale. So in GIS software, this type of raster processing we perform frequently, color to grayscale. Then another type of raster processing technique we use, which is called thresholding, which is basically convert the grayscale image into black and white image. If you have a grayscale image, this grayscale image will convert into black and white image, something like this. There are so many gray values are there. These gray values are removed. Only we'll get two values, black and white. No other gray values are there. So those technique is called thresholding. By segregate the gray value in the grayscale image into two distinct value, black means 0 value, white means 1 value. So all the pixel in this or all the cell in the raster have any one of the two values, either 0 means black or white or 1 means white. So in this way we also convert grayscale image into black and white image for different purposes. If you have a color image, then we can also perform this color separation technique. Color separation means manipulating a color image. If you have a color image, that we will manipulate, and by doing manipulation we will extract features from this color image. For example, this is a color image. This color image represents different types of geographical features: river, roads, urban area or something. So all such type of geographical features you can extract from the color image, because river is represented by blue color. So if you extract the blue color from this color image, you will get the river feature. If you extract the red pixels from this color image or red cells from this color image, you will get all the road features. So in this way, from the color image we can extract particular geographical features, and this technique is called color separation. Sometimes we have a large image, so from this larger image we can clip or we can cut out a smaller portion, and this technique is called image subset or image clipping. Cut out a portion of the raster data and create a new raster, so your original larger raster will not at all hamper. It will be as it is, but from this image we can clip certain smaller portion. For example, in this larger image, this portion we cut out, and this portion we save in a new raster, so your original raster will be not at all hampered. So this technique is called image subsetting or image clipping. From a larger image, smaller portion we can, or certain portion we can cut out. Then we can also perform image mosaicing. This is also one type of raster processing, which is nothing. It is a combination or merging of two or more images two or more images can be combined, can be merged and create a single image, just opposite of subset. If you see this illustration, those are the 6 adjacent image. Those images are placed side by side, up and down. Those 6 images can be combined, can be merged and create a single image for you. From the smaller number of images, you can create a larger image. In this case, images are overlapped. So not only adjacent, if you have overlapped images, that can be also merged and create a single image for your project purpose. So image mosaicing is another raster processing technique. So those are the common types of raster processing technique we use to make your raster data ready for doing analysis: image subsetting, image mosaicing, image georeferencing, color separation, grayscaling, thresholding. Many more raster processing techniques are there. Another one is there, setting image projection or changing image projection from one to another. Sometimes we need to set appropriate projection in an georeferenced image. Once you perform image georeferencing, then on your georeferenced image you can set a appropriate projection. You know, in coordinate system lecture I told you cylindrical projection, conical projection, planar projection. So as per your GIS project, you can set any such type of projection on your georeferenced image. Or maybe your image already has one type of projection. So you may change from one projection to another projection. You transform your image from one projection to another projection as per your requirement. That is also sometimes performed. So in this illustration you see your image is already in projected coordinate system, North American datum UTM, that was transformed to a geographic coordinate system. So your image is transformed from projected coordinate system to geographic coordinate system, or vice versa. You can convert your image from geographic coordinate system to projected coordinate system. It may vary, but sometimes, most of the time we perform such type of projection or reprojection on any existing image. Okay, so those are the actually different types of raster processing techniques are there. Now from the next slide we will discuss the concept of vector data encoding method. You already know how to enter raster data within computer. You know scanning or vector to raster conversion. But how can I enter vector data, point, line, polygon, geometry in the computer? So there are also few techniques are there. One of them is called on-screen digitization. On-screen digitization involves tracing on the raster image. I think most of you already perform tracing on a tracing paper using pen or pencil. So the same thing we will perform here, but this time we will perform tracing on a raster image using your computer screen and using your GIS software. And the traced object stored directly on the computer as a vector data. So whatever the object you will trace on the raster, that will be stored on the computer, that will be stored in the computer as a either point, line or polygon vector data. If you see this illustration, we are using GIS software. In the background one raster data is there, this black color raster, black and white raster. Now user tracing this particular raster entity and create a polygon vector data. So the same way, polygon, point, line, such type of vector data you can trace on the raster. You can trace on the raster and store such type of vector data within computer. So on-screen digitization is also called heads-up digitization because the attention of the GIS user is focused on the computer screen. So when you perform on-screen digitization on the computer screen, your focus will be on the computer screen. So your heads will be always up. So for that reason, this is also called heads-up digitization. Then another method is there for capturing vector data, and this encoding method is called geocoding. Geocoding is the process of transforming tabular data. Which type of tabular data? That means table data. Such type of tabular data that contains geographical locations in the form of XY coordinate. So if you have such type of tabular data where geographical coordinate present as a X and Y coordinate, then GIS software will convert this XY coordinate tabular data into point geometry on the map. So let's see. You can see we have a table where tabular data contain longitude and latitude information. So longitude information is called X coordinate, latitude will consider Y coordinate. So this X and Y coordinate data GIS software will use, and with the help of geocoding method it will automatically create 3 points. Each and every point will represent one particular longitude latitude pair. For example, this point supposed to be represent this longitude latitude pair. This point represent this longitude latitude. This point represent this longitude latitude. So this method of transforming tabular data into point geometry is called geocoding. So just like on-screen digitization, we also use geocoding method for entering vector data into the computer. Now just like raster processing for increasing accuracy and make your raster data much more accurate, we perform different types of processing. So the same thing is true for vector data. Once you capture vector data, then you perform different types of quality checking, so that if you found any error, that can be fixed and make your vector data much more accurate. So different types of data checking you perform. No duplicate vector data should be there. No extra node or vertex should be present in the vector data. Two line objects that are supposed to be connect each other, but unfortunately those line objects are not connected properly. You have to connect it properly. Two adjacent polygons should not be overlapped. Two district boundaries should not be overlapped, or there should not be any gap between them. Two adjacent district boundaries should not have any gap, should not have any overlapped area. So all such type of error we should check, and if you found error, that should be rectified, that should be fixed. And once you rectify or remove those errors, then based on those vector data, if you perform analysis, you will get much more better result. So some of the vector editing or vector cleaning operation I present in front of you. This is called pseudonode error. Two line objects share a common node. Two line objects that have a common node. If you found such type of error, then GIS software will remove this node and join these two lines and create a single line for you. So two line transform into single line. Undershoot. This line should be touch this particular line on its edge, but accidentally GIS user do not touch it. So this gap is called undershoot. So if you have such type of undershoot, that should be removed and this line should be extend up to its edge. The same way, when GIS user prepare those line vector data, this line should be stopped here, but GIS user extend it little bit. So this extended part is called overshoot. This gap is called undershoot. If you found such type of overshoot, then it should be trimmed, it should be cut down. So such type of error you should check whether those sort of errors crept in your vector data, those sort of errors whether exist in your vector data or not. If exist, you need to remove those errors. Clustered node. Four lines should be meet in a common point, but actually they not. They do not meet in a common location. They are in a clustered way. So that will be considered as a clustered node error. So GIS software will choose those four vertex and meet them in a common locations. So by this way we remove clustered node. Two adjacent polygon, it should not have any overlap, it should not have any gap, and those overlap portion and gap is called sliver polygon. It should be removed. There should not be any overlap, should not be any gap. There should not be any duplicate object. If you found any duplicate line, duplicate point, duplicate polygon, you should immediately remove all such type of point, line, polygon, duplicate objects. So those sort of errors we should check and we should rectify or remove all such type of vector errors. Break crossing. Two line objects when cross each other, they should be break at their crossing point. So this is the two lines. When they cross each other, both the lines should be break and it will create four lines. This is one, this is. Another one is their coordinate thinning. If your line geometry contain extra vertex, if you think those extra vertex you can remove and you can make your line geometry simplified in this way, in such a way. If they contain extra vertex, for example, you can see those arrows, you can consider those are the extra vertex. Those vertex we can remove. Once you remove those vertex, this particular vertex, it will be a straight line. So that's why we prepared a simplified line geometry. So those sort of errors we generally find out and try to remove. And final one is there. Once your spatial data is ready, this is your spatial data, this is your attribute data. Both are possible to prepare in GIS software, or sometimes we prepare spatial data in GIS software and we prepare attribute data in DBMS software or in Excel software, whatever. Ultimately, once they prepared, that should be linked or joined with each other. Spatial data and attribute data should be joined. Once they are joined, once they are linked, spatial database and attribute database, then your data is ready for doing analysis. So this workflow, this process is called process of GIS, and we know, as you told you earlier, most of the time you have to spend for doing this data processing purpose. Okay, so that's all. Thank you.